let's bend aside. This is some South American mahogany, and what I'm swabbing it down with is water with just a little bit of fabric softener in it, which helps soften the wood when it gets hot. And just sponging on a bit of water is plenty. They don't really need to be soaked for this method. And what I'm going to do now is prepare my bending press, which is sort of a combination of low-tech and high-tech. The heater blanket that I use is a fairly new way of bending, and does it really makes bending easier, and it is rather high-tech, but the whole frame that I use here is obviously pretty low-tech. What I do is I have a sandwich of spring steel, and that goes on the bottom and on the top, and then the heater blanket is a silicone heater blanket, which is basically aerospace technology. And then what I do is put a couple of sheets of aluminum foil, with some heavy duty aluminum foil on each side of the side, so that I protect it from the spring steel, because the spring steel will stain it. So make a sandwich of aluminum foil, spring steel on the bottom, heater blanket on the bottom, spring steel on top. Clip it all together, put it in the press, make sure I line up the waist in the correct place, which is right under here. Turn on the blanket with my low-tech dimmer switch. It would be better to, of course, use a regulation variac, but the dimmer switch works. Now this is an 1100 watt heater blanket, and that's pretty hot. It would actually burn the wood, and I have burned wood with it. But what I do is I now wait for the heater blanket to heat up, and I gauge that by both smell and by how the ends just start to sag under the weight of the wood itself and this. They're aluminum, so they're not real heavy. They're, they're definitely substantial, but they're not actually weights. You wouldn't actually feel that they were something that you'd work out with or anything. So this will take about 5 or 6 minutes to heat up, and during that time I try not to get distracted, because that's how I burn wood. And you can notice that it's now starting to droop a little bit, just a little bit. And I will tighten the waist just a little bit at a time as I watch this just relax and droop down. The most likely place to crack a side is at the tight waist, or if I'm bending a cutaway guitar, on the inside of the cutaway. And not only do I have to worry about cracking the waist, but also have to worry about the wood crumpling in the waist. So as the wood is bent like this, it tries to crack on the outside where it's getting stretched, and it tries to crumple on the inside. And now I can hear it sizzling, and I can start to smell that it's heating up, and you can start to see a little bit of the steam coming off of it. And what I'll do is just kind of gauge how hot it is by the old spit test. And I know that the inside is hot enough already because I can hear it sizzling, but you can hear that psst, and that's what I'll wait for on the outside before I clamp it all the way down. And now the waist is almost bent. It probably needs about that far to go to bottom out, but this is the part where you have to be really careful not to crumple it. And there's still plenty of moisture coming off, it's still steaming, and I know that it's below the steam temperature because I'm not getting any sizzle on the outside. A lot of things in guitar making don't happen at a very brisk rate, and this is actually one of those things that happens faster than most, even though it doesn't seem like it now. And you know, I'll smell it because it's just like cooking brownies. You kind of need to know what it smells like when it's done. And now it's just getting right. So crank it down. And I can pretty much pull this end down pretty fast now. And this end, which has a really wide bend, takes very little stress, so it can go down pretty quick. And now you can really smell that it's getting hot. And that's pretty much it. Now wait for it to cook into place, and I'll turn the temperature down so that it has a little more time to cook out without actually scorching. That's something you have to be careful of, especially with the lighter woods. Maple and mahogany will scorch pretty easily. And with rosewood, what happens is the resin all bubbles out of it and it stains the sides if you get it too hot. But that mostly will sand out, whereas the scorch won't. And now I'll wait for that sizzle, and then as soon as the sizzle happens, I'll just turn it off and let it cool down. What we bend is an OM side. And at this point, I would probably, there, the sizzle there, turn it off, now I can ignore it. Ready to take it out, so take the clips off, and what I want to do is loosen up a little bit and then take the end piece out, but I don't want to let the inside spring steel push the side. I might snap it and then open it up. See, I'm off now. Bedside. Now, some would spring back more than others, and mahogany, which I bent, is one of those that springs back a lot, but it fits right in the mold with just a moderate amount of pressure. And that's it.